What if the future of investing looked less like a velvet rope and more like a group chat? Today, I'm talking with Cheryl Kellond, the founder and CEO of Play Money, about opening the gates to angel investing, moving capital with conviction, and why the next wave of wealth creation might belong to the people bold enough to talk about money differently. Women don't talk about money the way we should. Not honestly, not openly, and not with each other. But that's changing. I'm Syama Bunten, founder of Wealth Catalyst. And Getting Rich Together is where the conversation lives. Every week, a different woman, a different path, and a conversation that will change how you think about your own financial power. This community is growing and you belong in it. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review so more women can find their way here. Now, let's get rich together. I am here with the badass Cheryl Kellond. She's the CEO of Play Money, a serial founder, angel investor, and she is on a goddamn mission to revolutionize the angel economy by making startup investing inclusive, fun, accessible. My God, Cheryl, you have raised over $20 million in venture capital. No easy feat. Being such an incredible entrepreneur, have led nearly $1 billion in product revenue. And along the way of building an illustrious career, you've also managed to find the time to coach hundreds of early stage founders along the way. You are a crazy woman. I love you. Welcome to Getting Rich Together. Thank you for being here.
Woohoo! I am so excited to be here.
Well, let's start from a young Cheryl, maybe a Cheryl who didn't always know she was going to change the world and be on a mission, or maybe she did know she was going to change the world and be on a mission. Take me back to a young girl somewhere between the ages of 7 and 12 years old. My love, where were you on this big, beautiful planet? And what was life like around you?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I've agreed I've changed the world yet. But if we're going to 7 to 12-year-old me, all right, like super top secret, I used to be really shy and insecure.
No way.
So I was like quiet. And so I am an introvert. No one who listens to this or has seen me anywhere would ever believe that, but I'm a big introvert. But I used to be shy and insecure. So like I don't like, you would not have recognized younger me, maybe. We were always doing something. That said, we were always doing something sort of crafty and creative. Like I was the kid that was like, let's play business, right? And there was a party business and there was a little publishing business. And like we ran a racket in the neighborhood on our little Schwinn bikes and we'd do little neighborhood productions back in the day. And then, like I was sort of that girl, but definitely not like the leader, ballsy, larger than life.
What kind of
10-year-old, right? I was a little mousy.
Well, what kind of student were you? Were you like quiet and into your books? Or was it just more like the quiet girl in the big group of friends? Like what was it like for you at school?
I was always like had a close posse of a few friends, but not the super big group. I wasn't nerdy. I did a little bit of everything, but I was a super good student. Like I just was like, I'm no dummy. I was a good student.
Yeah.
But like a little bit yeah. No, I mean, I knew it, right? Yeah. Yes. I knew it, but I wasn't like the smarty girl that you're like, yeah. No, I was just sort of low key.
Oh, I love that. And what neighborhood did you grow up in? What were the kids like around you? What were the homes like around you?
Oh my goodness. I grew up in Fairfield County, Connecticut. So life did not suck. I had the kind of parents that like were they came from a blue collar background. They were the first of their generation to go to college. So that fancy like Fairfield County was a little bit striving for them. They were the dorky Midwesterners that never quite fit in. And gosh, I don't know if there's like, I don't think there was anything truly remarkable about it. Just a little upper middle class. They moved when I was a senior in high school, which was pretty traumatic, and they were pretty shitty for it. So I made them this bargain that like, if I had to leave my senior year, I was going to go somewhere like sort of glam and fancy. So I went to Andover for my senior year before going to college. Again, my life did not suck. But I was sort of like by the time I got to high school, I was sort of the fun, rebellious type. Right. Like we used to go to Greenwich Village on the train on the weekends and pretend we could dress sort of punk, even though we were too afraid to like permanently dye our hair or, shave everything too much. So it was
What
like those
changed,
kind of days.
Cheryl?
Like, look, no trouble.
What changed between being shy and then becoming punk rock rebellion? Was it just like a maturation of time, or like what was it? Something? Was it a magazine? Like what was it that sort of like saw you through that transition?
That is a great question because I am not really sure. I don't think it was like one big magic moment. Maybe it's like how some kids mature faster or slower. They get facial hair, they get boobs. Maybe I just went faster on the trajectory of being out of fucks to give. Right. And then like, if you do that, if you like run out of fucks to give at a certain point, you just live a little bolder, live a little louder. And maybe that's it. I had a kid really early. I was on a podcast this morning and she's like, tell me about, whatever, when you were in your 20s. I was like, well, sweetheart, I was that girl in college that was pregnant out to here and had to graduate early and then was carrying around a baby at the bars at 21. Like, so that kind of stuff changes you. You learn to live a little bit different because you're just living in your own reality.
Yeah, totally. So
this coming weekend. Yeah, this coming weekend's my 30-year anniversary from grad school at MIT. And I was the girl that rolled in with a 4-year-old on her hip. We're like, great, we're getting an MBA. And this is my friend Corey, and he's going to ride a bike and play with cars in all of our meetings, and let's go. So maybe it was that.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a sense of like young self-directedness. I feel like growing up and having proximity to a city our big city it's like a blessing and a curse, it's like you kind of get to like see all the things. And, having grown up in San Francisco, I remember being like so immune to homeless people because it was like the way it is, and you sort of develop a different appetite for life. So talk to me about university. What did you end up studying in university? How did you decide where to go? What was sort of what is it at that time that you sort of knew of yourself?
Oh, great question. Coming out of Andrew, so I went to University of Chicago, which again, more plays to like, I was the quiet, shy girl when I was younger. Not necessarily the best fit for me in college. I mean, it was sort of academically intense. It was really hard. It's got its own, everyone knows University of Chicago has its own quirks. But I paid a big chunk of my college expenses by being the late night waitress at the House of Tiki in the neighborhood. I worked the 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. shift, lived with, some friends, from the neighborhood. I had moved out of the dorms. So like well into I'm going to sort of carve my own path piece of my existence here. I finished school. I finished school in about 3.5 years. I got pregnant and I had to graduate quickly. And then, I don't know what the defining moment there. I mean, the defining moment was actually in college, right? A geeky place. I was like, maybe not working for me. The defining moment was I was actually, because I was the late night waitress at the House of Tiki, turned out to be very pivotal later in life to me. Right. So I graduated. I got some, I don't know, after college job doing something, probably making about $24,000 a year. And I was making $24,000 a year as a single mom. And like the economics on that, not really working out well. My life was blessed. I have a family that was, both could be financially supportive in the worst of times, but mostly were just around to help me, with my son. But there was a moment I was working in a building. I was in Boston then. My parents had moved to Boston and I moved back to Boston after I had the baby for smart reasons. And I used to be able to look out the window and see MIT. And I was like, hey, if I go back and get my MBA, I can pay for it with student loans for 2 years. And when I come out, I'm not going to be making $24,000 anymore. I'm going to be making more money than that. This is like a good idea financially. Like this feels like a way out of this strange situation I'm in. So I applied to MIT and I got really good grades on the GMATs like I would because I was a good student. And I studied next to my son who was watching Barney all the time. And so, like you can memorize and absorb facts easier if you've got like a repetitive sound playing in the background or some kind of mnemonic. So the Barney song was my mnemonic. I aced. Yeah. Oh, I missed one question on the test. That was it. I got perfect score except for one question because I sat in the damn test room for 3 hours hearing, I love you. You love me. We're a happy family. And in the background the whole time. So, all right. So I go into MIT for my interview and I walk into this room and the admissions officer sitting there, he just stops. He goes, oh my God, I know you. You're the waitress from the House of Tiki. He's like, I used to drink drinks out of your shoe. I was like, of course you are. Turns out he was the director of admissions at Booth Business School in Hyde Park, where the House of Tiki was, while I was there. And there was no way I wasn't getting in after that. I mean, this guy was ready to pour drinks in his shoe for me right then. You were, and I could have you at my program. Holy moly. So
I love that.
We
That
went
is
really quickly
so
from
hilarious.
I was a mousy 10-year-old to like, I was the House of Tiki waitress getting into MIT Sloan. But there you have it.
I love that. When you made the decision to do your MBA, was, other than like, I know that this will significantly change my like financial position and sort of get you going. Were there any other sort of like outcomes that you had thought of at that time? Like, was it, any sort of ambition around, I don't know, you've been such a prolific entrepreneur. So any sort of ideas around, I want to create a thing or I want to do a thing. How much of your future self had you tapped into at that time?
Oh, no. My future self needed my current self to unwind the mess my current self had put myself in. I was not thinking that much in the future. I was thinking, I've got this like husband, this baby daddy husband that needs to be my ex-husband. And I need a little bit more financial like muscle to get out of it. Right. And like, so this was it. So I was like not thinking 5 steps ahead. I was thinking 2 steps behind, but the same underlying person in the middle. When I was at business school, this is going to date the crap out of me, but like the internet was new, right? It was the year like Netscape browser went public. So I'm like, I go back a minute. But when I was there, all that entrepreneurial stuff from when I was a little girl came into play, right? Like I went on the school trips out to California to meet with the tech companies. I had this friend out there. He used to work at General Magic. We were like, oh, hey, let's start this new internet thing where we tell stories, right? They call it a blog now. Back then they called it an e-zine. And we're like, yeah, we can build it. Like we learned HTML and we built it on our little browsers and like we would do stickering campaigns and like we just like, once you have that entrepreneurial bug in you, like you're always looking to F around and like, let's just do something. And it doesn't have a bigger goal any more than like, let's have fun and experiment with this thing that's on the cutting edge and see what happens. So while I was at business school, we started this blog. We called it Costa to Cheryl and Angelique. And it was like sort of these stories of like our strange early 20 something dating lives, right? Well, the thing sort of went viral for back in the day. We had all these fans all over the place. She shared a cube at General Magic with Pierre, the now well-known former founder of eBay. He was running his servers out of his kitchen at that time. We needed a server to host our new, glorious rainbow barred HTML website we had, created. So our URL was ebay.com/thecasa. And he's like, hey, I need to launch my auction site. You guys have sort of a following. You were covered on NPR. You were covered in suck.com. Can I auction off a night with you guys on eBay to get some publicity for it? So I'm not even going to get into how crazy the story got after that, but I'm on page 126 of the History of eBay book with the whole story.
I want to know how much. How much did it go, Cheryl?
Oh my God. No, wasn't that much. People weren't spending money on the internet then. And I won't no, this is a whole separate podcast episode. Like the guy that won the auction and who he ended up having to be and the prison he ended up in. There's a whole juicy story here. I made enough money to pay like my heating bill in Boston in an old house. However, it got us on the radar of, like, you didn't even ask this question. It got us on the radar of AOL. And there was a summer intern from Harvard Business School working at AOL that summer, John Callahan, who became the founder of True Ventures and is now on the Midas list. And his summer intern project at AOL was to buy the Costa, because they were buying up like artsy internet properties. So AOL bought us. I made enough money to pay off my student loans in the process and move myself. Right. And I used that and my new degree to get permission to, first of all, I just divorced my husband, but then got permission from the court to move to California with my son, and the rest is history. But I think the whole, the string there is do something you're curious about that seems sort of crazy and have fun with it and see what happens. And like, it just happens. That was way more than the question you asked, but
I mean, how fabulous.
But that's the trajectory.
So when it came time to sell the business, was it like, holy shit, I can't believe someone wants to buy us? And like, how do we structure and negotiate this? Was it more like, oh my God, we're ready? Like how did you sort of, being young and having this cool, new property, being able to have the opportunity to sell, how did you guys like think about it? And like, what was the what were the story? Like, how did you guys come up with the decision and the price and like all of that?
Oh my God. You are so funny. You are attributing all these like complex adult motives to like 24-year-old single mom me who only wants to get away from her like town cop ex-husband and move to California. I just told you I got really excited to do an auction on eBay that paid me like $315 to pay my heat bill. It was pretty much AOL calls. We were like, I'm sitting on like, $100,000 of student loans. I'm like, and how much would that check be? And what do we have to do for you? And do we get paid before or after we do that other stuff? Like whatever that number was, it sounded great because it covered my bills. I was like, that sounds super. And you want me to program in Rainmaker and move my blog to your little dial-up site? Sure. Is any of my payment contingent on that? No. Okay, got it. Hey, and John, your summer internship is over. So let's sign this and be done with it. So yeah, it was not nearly as sophisticated as you think. And it was not a multi-million-dollar exit, but it was what I needed to take that next step.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's important for founders to think about. You don't need to be the biggest thing in the world. Like what's meaningful to you? The journey needs to be meaningful and the ending point needs to be meaningful. And that it had all that. And like, how many people can say they're on page 126 of the eBay book? And like, so cool. I've had for years, friends would read that part there and they're like, hey, Cheryl, I just started at eBay and I was reading the book and that sounds an awful lot like you, right? Like how many other single moms from MIT Sloan started a website? Like it's none. So,
oh my God, I love that.
Part of a storied life, right? We're all living storied lives. That's finally mentioned it.
Okay, so you divorce the ex, you take the cash, you pay off the loans, you take yourself to California. Now what?
Oh yeah. Okay. First, let's be very clear. I met the man of my dreams. He's been my husband for almost 30 years. And before you ask, I met him the night of the Tyson Holyfield fight. My son had just gone back east to see his dad for the summer. We bought a keg and we paid $50 for pay-per-view and we told all our friends to bring their single guy friends over. And he walked into my house like a fresh drink of water. Mike Tyson bit off Evander Holyfield's ear. He smooched me and the rest is history. So that was the most important thing that happened in California.
How long did you stay out there for?
That's like a math question now. It's like 20 years. We were near San Francisco. We were in Silicon Valley for a long time. And then we got sick of the overhead of Silicon Valley. We moved down to Manhattan Beach for 4 years. And then the middle kids hit high school. And Manhattan Beach is not really a place to be in high school if you don't want your kids to drive Ferraris and do cocaine, which we were not totally cool about. So
sounds
moved
about
to Colorado.
Right.
And I've been there for been in Colorado now for 12 years. Yeah. Ferraris, cocaine. No, bye. So,
in your California days, I mean, obviously you're just a serial creator and doer, and like it almost seems like,
mhm.
if you can think it and dream it, like it shall be yours. While you were in California,
Love it.
what were some of the things you got yourself into? And like what was some of the trouble you started, Cheryl?
Oh, good question. I will say I maybe tempered down my troublemaking days because during that time I also had 3 kids. I moved between jobs pretty regularly. I crafted myself a career as a concept to launch expert, right? I would love to
Cool.
go from scratch to version 1.5, and then I'd get bored and move on to a different company. And at the time, that was very, very easy to do. And I would alternate between big brand name companies and
Mhm.
smaller startups. I love the
Okay.
startups, but like imagine that kind of evolution as also you're having kids, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to sort of balance where the right place to be based on that, your own gestational flow. So
Was there,
so yeah,
were there
built.
were there any specific, moments or experiences where, you've had such interesting, like before moving to California, you had your first sort of taste of, entrepreneurship and selling something. And now you're sort of
Mhm.
building what I think most people consider to be like a dream of like a portfolio career in life and the ability to drop in and out of things and move really
Mhm.
fluidly through life. What were some of the
Mhm.
experiences that really opened up your eyes to like, I don't know, like the way that the financial system was set up, the ways in which corporations or, founders were
Mm.
were fundraising? Like what were some of those California moments that started to lay the foundation for what you would later sort of evolve into?
Oh, that is a super great question. So I'll backtrack for a second and know that I did my first startup that was mine as a founder about 15 years ago. So I've been a founder for 15 years now. I stopped working for somebody else. And I mean, I think if you look back at my story, it was clear that it was going to happen at some point. And the things that had to collide is I maybe just had to have like the making kids behind me a tiny bit. So I think my youngest was probably, I should be able to do this math. She was like 5 or 6 when I started my first startup, right? Like she could do things. So I had to get that behind me. But I also had to find something that was like interesting enough to me to throw myself into as if it were a fifth child. But I think the thing that like really triggered me of like, I'm going to just have to do my own thing. I had a job at Yahoo. And man, I loved that job. I was there like at the tail end of the great years. And it was like the peanut butter manifesto years. But it was the perfect place for me because the whole place was chaos. And I love chaos. I can deliver results out of chaos all day because there's no rules. You can pick and choose what you want to do. And you'd be like, I'm just going to deliver. I'm going to deliver these results. And I had an amazing time there on my, whatever, 2.5 year stint. Towards the tail end of it, though, there was a bunch of turnover and change. And I had great leadership there the whole time. And like in those days, like at Yahoo, I mean, they had a female CEO, a bunch of female EVPs. But at the VP level layer, and particularly on the ad revenue side of the business, it was all guys, which I never thought anything of, right? I'm just sort of rolling around doing my thing. And then they did an acquisition and I got this new boss and he was trying to figure out how to staff his team. And I had, in my time there, I had grown from a team of 0, just me, to a team of 70 folks. They were rolling my peers' teams into mine. I had special projects at the exec level I had picked off and, announced on stage with the CEO in front of the all hands meeting, right? Like, so I had a high profile portfolio. I had a burgeoning team. I had an extraordinary concentration of talent on my team because if you were a rising star female at Yahoo, who do you want to work? Whose team do you want to work on? Oh, you want to work on her team, right? Like, so I was a magnet for talent. I did a ton of work to equalize salary across my team because I was harvesting people from the rest of the company and I was seeing peers come in, male, female, and the woman was getting paid 30% less. So I had this whole, corporate mission of like, I need to make sure people are at pay parity. And I was correcting mistakes, across the org. So this was my tenure there. Then I get this new boss and he sits down, he's like, hey, I have to decide how I want to structure this team. And I need to put my direct staff as people that I can give, like, what's his phrase? Give like clear water to and really, really connect one-on-one with and have a beer with. So I'm going to take this guy who's only been a chief of staff, hasn't run a team, hasn't delivered big results, and I'm going to make him my direct report and you're going to go under him because I just don't know how I can sit down and have a beer with you. This was a guy who used to sit down and have beers with people and talk about his ex-wife in a trashy way, talk about things that maybe you shouldn't be talking about in work. But it was very clear that one of the reasons he was not comfortable with me is because I busted the gender vibe. And like, you've just seen me drop 15 F-bombs on this call and I could run your ass ragged talking about sports. It was a pure gender thing. And I was like, I had never seen that side of the world before because I had just rolled through. Because I have a big personality and I'm smart and I just sort of did what I want. I was like, the super competent one, I could do shit. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, hey. And it was a seminal moment. I was like, I got to figure out my own thing to do because that is never happening to me again. I haven't told that story in a million years. Oh my goodness. Good job. Good job. But that was a big seminal moment for me. I took a bunch of lazy startup jobs after that, like sort of like mid-tier companies that weren't growing fast because I had a kid I needed to graduate. I had a daughter I was adopting. We ended up, we moved to Southern California to just get out of the Silicon Valley thing. Like I needed a little bit of a professional pause in my life, but I couldn't do it without a salary. So took some crafty jobs. And then it was when we moved down to LA that I figured out my first startup and took a big swing at something. But it was in the cards, obviously, from day one. But I think I needed that combination of that oh boy moment and getting a little freedom around me to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Which is totally fine, right? Like there's only so many things you can multitask at once.
Totally. Totally. I mean, and Southern California it's a different vibe, I mean, even now it's a totally different vibe. Yeah. Talk to me about the, taking a big swing at something, especially now when you have a larger family, right? It's not a family of two. It's like now it's like a lot.
4 free ranging kids.
Yeah. There's a lot to think about, and it doesn't strike me that you would have sat down and been like, all right, what does security look like? Right. But obviously with like a family, there's conversation and consideration, right? And maybe those are like different sort of kinds of conversations. What did it look like to sort of have this conversation within the family and be like, all right, like this is going to happen. And like, you all know me and I'm going to balls to the walls this thing and like, get ready. Like how much conversation happened before it got unleashed?
Oh, you are dead. You're so cute. Haven't you met me through this call? Oh my gosh, no. I was like up drinking with a girlfriend one night and I had we moved to Southern California, 4 kids, but they're free ranging and they can all sort of do their own things and make their own lunches. So I got into triathlon. I'm a multi-time Ironman now. I was just getting into the sport and I was out drinking with my girlfriend one night. We're like, these Garmin watches suck. We can build something better than this, right? And like totally like drunk dialed a bunch of friends. Found a girlfriend who had started a connected jewelry company and knew the entire sports watch team at Nike who had they had just shipped their product and just let the design team go. So like, no, there was no big contemplative moment around this. I was like drunk dialing entrepreneur girlfriends and like got a hookup with the Nike team. And like, all of a sudden I was like, and I don't like the job I'm at now. So all of a sudden I was like a founder. Like, let's go back to this is why I told you about my husband. I have the world's best husband. Like he was like, okay, honey, like you're going to do a thing. No, we didn't have that discussion or what it would mean financially. I am absolutely sure we didn't think about it in the least bit. And, if I fast forward a few years, it's not me. We didn't think about it in the least bit because we didn't have to. Oh yeah, we freaking should have thought about it, right? One of the biggest reasons we moved to Colorado is, wait a minute, we can't afford to live in like Manhattan Beach or anywhere in California on one real salary and a startup founder salary. And oh, by the way, the startup founder was doing consumer electronics from scratch. So there was no salary. There was money going that we didn't have going into the business, like credit card money going into the business. So like, no, we didn't think about any of those things. Like one day I will, that will be cute. And I'm going to call you when I do, but it hasn't happened yet. Like
how,
like it was hardware. So we're like, let's launch it on Kickstarter, right? Like, so we did that. Like, no, there's, so little. More curves than sense, baby. More curves than sense. It's the only thing you need to remember about me.
I was 11 years old the first time I learned that nice things weren't for me. That belief ran quietly underneath my entire financial life for the next 20 years. That's the reason I built the Money Story Reset. 5 reflections on the beliefs shaping your relationship with money. And my own stories are in every single one, including the parts I don't usually say out loud. I didn't write this from the outside. I did every page myself first. It's free. The link is in the show notes, or go straight to wealthcatalyst.com/reset. That's wealthcatalyst.com/reset.
What did the kids know of mom? Was it like, mom is in like, did they understand sort of like, what it meant for you to like be a founder and like, start a company? Like, how much did you sort of talk to them about what mom did?
Oh, you didn't have to talk about it because they would see it because it was happening in the house. And I remember they loved it initially when they used to call me a racer. They used to get to go to triathlons on the weekend, and it was really fun. And they were like little elementary school kids. So they'd write my race numbers on things because they thought it was really cool. That eventually got long in the tooth as the races got longer. And then they're like, why are we out here all day in the cold? Who cares, mom? But no, they very much knew what I was doing all the time because we were developing hardware. And a lot of the times that happened at my kitchen table. Right. And so, we had sports watches. We put them on the kids' wrists and we tell them to go run around the block because we were testing things. We were shipping physical products. We're like, hey, we have all these shirts for our Kickstarter backers. You guys are going to use the label printer and you're going to mail them out. And I'm going to pay you, $10 for the afternoon to do it because you're 8.
College
so they
fund,
weren't involved in it. Right, exactly. College fund would have been if mom was at a real job. The moment I remember the most, though, my main hardware and antenna engineer was moonlighting from Google. His day job was at Google. He invented the GPS system that drives that was behind Street View and Google Waze. And he used to come to my house on the weekends and build circuit boards and stuff. And my daughter used to watch him work. And one afternoon, he told her how to read the circuit board picture on the screen to find any problems, like any errors. He told her how to, point those out. And then she used to sit at the kitchen table and open up her fake computer and hold her little stuffed animal baby and pretend to be spotting things on circuit boards. Like that's how she used to play house. Like, oh, mom is working. She's holding the baby and giving the baby love, but she's doing something on her computer. And then every now and then she would stand up and pretend she was on her Jawbone Bluetooth and start talking in a spicy voice. But it's just part of who they are. These are the jobs they had. These are what they're helping with. And her way to imitate me and play house was work and family all blended together. And it was fairly lovely.
So what's the spicy voice?
Oh, you can imagine it.
Oh my God. I love that so much.
And
okay.
It's so great. When you raise kids around enough spicy language, they know not to use the spicy words.
Exactly.
Right? If you use it every once in a while, they're like, ooh, I'm going to try that out. And if you use them all the time, they're like, we just know that's not for us.
Okay. So now you've had the first official bug of building and growing something, right? This is now under your belt. It's I feel
totally.
there's something that's there's something powerful about doing something once in that way. And then I also feel I've never birthed any children, but I've had 3 businesses now. And I feel you always kind of forget what the labor is like to get it off the ground. Is that anywhere like having children? Where you
Oh my
forget
God,
and then you decide to do it again?
Yep. 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 Yep.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
Usually now I have a thing I do now when I do something and I tell myself I should never do that again. I make up a little song about it. So I did that after a certain triathlon I did. I made up a song about it. And it was really interesting because it came up 2 weeks ago. My girlfriend said, "Hey, we should go back and do that triathlon." I was like, oh, no, I know I said I was never going to do that again. I have a song. I said that after my third son. I made up a little song. I was like, I don't ever want to birth a child again, which is why we adopted our fourth kid. So I was like, oh no, made up a song for that. I unfortunately have never made up a song about starting a startup, and I probably should have.
Yeah, totally. So then what was it
I've
like?
I've done it multiple times.
What was it like for you to decide to do another company afterwards? You know, how did you sort of decide it was time? Was it overlapping at all? Like, I'm ready for something else, and then like wind this down and start something else? Was it like, okay,
No. Like, I don't know. Those founders that can go from one thing to the next, like, great. Lord bless them. That's amazing. No, like the first one, like, we shipped an amazing product. We had this rabidly loyal fan base. They used to draw our product on the race course in chalk to cheer each other on. We were the number one rated product in the category on Amazon. It's whatever, 15 years later, I still run into people who backed us on Kickstarter that can tell me a story about how we made them feel and what we helped them do. But the company was a failure, right? Like I was trying to do consumer electronics on like a shoestring budget. Like it was never going to work, right? Like, let's be really clear. And I didn't realize that at the time, but now it was like the easiest thing in the world to see. And it took me a long time to recover from it, both because I was exhausted, but also because as a first time founder, I was like, oh, people invested in me and they lost their money. And it took me a really long time to get over the fact that like, oh, that's part of being an investor. Like no one can blame me. I gave it an amazing shot and people were telling me that. But like it took me a while to work both through the exhaustion and the sort of failure and what does that feel like kind of vibe. So I probably took 2 years off. It was right after we moved to Colorado. I did Ironman Canada twice in that time period. I spent a bunch of time with the kids. We had ice cream for dinner every night. I learned to be silent with myself. I did some side projects here or there. I knew how to do Kickstarters, so I helped a few companies with their Kickstarters. I knew not to do hardware, and I was new to Boulder, so Brad Feld turned me loose on every entrepreneur in all of Colorado who thought they could build hardware. And my job was to convince them not to build hardware. I was very good at it. They should all thank me. So I had 2 years of like this like weird non-obligation kind of side hustling, but it was recovery. It was emotional damage and recovery. And anyone thinks that if you're a founder that can go back to back to back, all good on you, but they should have a unemployment insurance fund for founders because we just need to spend some time to sit on the bench and recharge because it's hard.
yeah.
It's not pretty, but
No,
but ice cream for dinner every night was pretty good.
that's pretty good. How was it to experience that? I'm sure the kids were like super stoked that you were home. How was it with your husband, like sort of moving through those 2 years? I mean, tell me about sort of the identity, like your identity and the shifting of it. And, did you guys have conversation about, what this means, or like, how did you guys sort of integrate that experience together?
Again, you just project so many truly adult behaviors on me that I maybe don't exhibit. Our big time in this all, like I knew we were going to have to, shut down and it wasn't working when we left Southern California and moved to Colorado. And that was again, one of those crazy impulsive moments. We hadn't been talking about moving. I went out here for the very first time to visit a girlfriend who was having a baby. And I was on the ground for 24 hours. I was like, oh, smack. We need to move here. It's amazing. All the things we love are here and it's beautiful and it's affordable. And again, we had that Manhattan Beach kid in high school, like maybe wasn't sitting right with us kind of thing. So I went home and I was like, or maybe that weekend I posted, it was when Facebook was still popular. And I posted, hashtag Boco Relo, and the kids saw it. And so they're like having this sibling huddle, like, oh my God, what's mom talking about? I come home and I'm like, honey, I think we need to move. It's amazing there. And just because of where it was in the summer, where the kids were in school, like we really had to just make a decision. And so like from me first visiting here to when we rolled up in the moving van to our new rent house 4 days before school started, and the day before the kids flew back from summer camp to a new house, was 60 days. End to end.
Wow.
And there was an Iron Man, and there was an Iron Man in Canada in the middle of it. That was the conversation of like, what do we want our life to be? Because clearly I was going to be a founder. He's just amazing. He runs his own business. He's an architect, building real things architect, not like a computer guy. Like it's super sexy, right? Like Brad Pitt, Mike Brady, like it's a good guy to marry into. But so he's just, those were the roles in our relationships. And he knew that's what made me happiest. And like, that's what made our family healthy. And, it's a great relationship, but it wasn't, all those decisions that I made were never hey, let's sit down and talk about what we do next. Yeah. It was I know you're going to work through it, honey. I love you. And,
It's so sweet.
That's the way it goes.
Right? Like, it's so delicious and sweet. And so then, okay, let me anticipate. So then the next business idea comes up and you're like, and there's no conversation and it's like, we're off to the races. Was it
100?
Okay.
100%. Yes. It's like, well, we move, it's just, you sort of move. Are we doing a thing or we're not doing a thing? Oh, I think there is a thing. Oh, it is a thing. So yeah, it was funny. Like even this last time. So I did a business in the middle, and after I sold it, I probably had 2.5 years where I wasn't working, right? I was volunteering as an EIR. I had some side hustles I was getting a little bit paid for, doing a bunch of projects. It never felt like I stopped working. Like the moment of, oh, I figured out the thing and now the thing is official and I'm doing, like in the day-to-day of our life, it didn't change the flow of things. I get a paycheck and that's really good. We pay off some of that, the hole I dug when I didn't have a paycheck. But like, every personal relationship has, we play roles for each other.
That's really and
you
beautiful.
You find the right person, and it's fantastic.
So great. It's so good. So then tell me a little bit about like, the transition. Obviously you've now had like corporate experiences, multiple time founder experiences. When did you start to think about your own money and portfolio? And like, when did the like investor hat for you, how early did that start? What was sort of what was the moment where you went from like, here I am, on one side of the exchange, and now I'm going to start to use my capital in a way that's going to create the changes I want through other people?
Yep. So like, as embarrassing as it's going to sound from someone who has an actual business degree from the actual MIT, as you can maybe imagine, I didn't think about it as much as I should have as we were going, right? Like I had 4 kids and I had them early, right? We were sort of like, make and do as we go. There was never a giant, wealth creation moment. I remember I told you the story I got bought by AOL. There's a reason I told you that story and none of the others. That might have been my big wealth creation moment. But it was probably in my mid 40s. I started thinking about that. And I had this, oh, duh, I am such a damn idiot moment about compounding interest, right? Oh, we were trying to just keep up with the kids and do a thing. And oh, we maybe haven't thought about our money and invested like we should have. Just even fully funding 401ks and letting it compound. Like we were not in that group. We were trying to put a house over their heads and, pay for school and, move them through life, where I had made decisions not, to drop out during my biggest earning years. Like maybe if I had been more thoughtful, I wouldn't have done that. But also my husband and I both know it wouldn't have been sustainable in our relationship because that wasn't a place I was supposed to play. So there's not any woulda, coulda, shoulda. Right? Like my whole team at Yahoo, most of them ended up taking jobs at Facebook. And they left there as COO of this business unit or EVP of that business unit, mind changing wealth. That was not the place for me. So no woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I came to it. The point is I came to it late in life. I came to it late in life. And for this particular piece of investing, I came to it through my love of startups and through a love of, you know what I say all the time, first check calls game. If you write that first check, you get to decide what problems get solved and who gets to solve them. So I came at it through love of startups and through that lens of power. Tiny checks can add up to big change, and we can actually change what's there for us down the road by doing these little things now. So I didn't come from it from a holistic wealth management perspective, even though I am Series 65. Thank you very much. I came at it from, there's this capital here and these problems we need to solve there. What is the most efficient and effective way for me to have a giant impact there?
What was the first check you wrote? What was it for? Like, how did it feel? Like, it's like you never forget your first, right? Like there's the moment, you're like, oh my God, am I really going to do this? Like, okay, yeah, I'm really going to do this.
Yep. Yeah. No, this was a funny one. I made the investment I'd sat on the sidelines for a while looking. I mean, my angel story is I started to learn about angel investing because I thought it would make me a better founder and it would make me a better mentor and coach to the hundreds of founders I was working with. And it dovetailed with when I sold my second startup. And the thing to do that back then in those days was to become a fund manager, right? You're an exited founder. You love startups. You're going to be a fund manager. I was like, fuck no, I'm not. I hated fundraising. Why am I going to do that for my job? Right? Like that would be stupid. But I wanted to sit in the middle of that moment. So in parallel, I was learning about angel investing myself. I started with Hustle Fund Angel Squad. They taught me a bunch of things. I say, right? Everyone starts with the squad, right?
Yeah.
I do. We all love the squad. Yeah, squad 5 here. I just want to let you know, I am probably the only Angel Squad lifer that earned lifer status by referring enough people in. So
I love that.
Just going to let you know that. Brian Nichols will vouch for that. That is true. Haley Bryant was the first angel investor on my company, Play Money. So lots of squad vibes and love. And I jointly owned some NFTs with Elizabeth Yin. So my squad vibes go wide and deep. Love that crowd. But my first investment was, I think I made it through the Council Angels. And it was a company called Moisey Baby. It was like an at-home IUI kit. And the founder was really smart. I loved the market. Jenny Fielding from Everywhere VC was one of her initial investors. But I wouldn't have remembered it, except that I recently I invested through an RUV on AngelList, and I went to download my tax documents and I saw that investment was a complete write-off. I took a full loss on it. And I was like, I had never heard boo from the founder. What's going on? Their website's still up. And she just posted the other day they were acquired, but clearly a asset purchase agreement for reasons I don't know, because the founder never communicated. But that was my first investment.
Wow, that's thank you for sharing.
And it was fun to do it with girls. I like the business, right? I trusted the investors in it. It felt great, and it would feel better if the founder had been a better communicator throughout, because that's a little bit of what I learned on my journey, right? Yes. I had all of these angels and all of these backers who, still think the world of me and my company and what we did for them. But part of that was because we communicated every step along the way and they got to be part of that journey. Right? If angel investing is actually just an expensive paid newsletter subscription, at least deliver the newsletter.
Yeah. So that was your first. And then the appetite grew, and so did a business model and a thesis and sort of a vision for the world. Like how did it start to snowball? And, when did the moment go from, and how quickly did you go from, maybe to, okay, like this is it?
Oh gosh, there's never that one defining moment where you cross over that leap point, right? I had been doing customer discovery about a bunch of different businesses and, playing around with this one. I think this one was like, I saw something after talking to hundreds of would be, should be, could have been, sort of were, actually were kind of angels. It felt like we had abstracted, like if we rebuilt the process of early stage capital from the point of view of truly the person writing the check, the individual and the founder that needed it, what would we put there? And what I was seeing everywhere was there was a ton of people that sort of wanted to be in that space and should be in that space because it affects the future. And it is something that should be part of a, sophisticated financial portfolio. But I also saw it from the founder perspective. And there was this fragmentation tax that was happening, right? It was super exciting in the ZERPA years because new kind of fund managers were emerging. They looked different. They had different lived experience. They were backing different kind of founders. Like the fundraising environment I grew up in when it was 12 firms on Sand Hill Road, and it was like a hazing ritual, especially if you came in there as a woman doing an athletic product. Like it was a little bit, do girls do sports? It sounds ridiculous, but it was a little bit like, do girls even do sports? To see what was happening with all these new fund managers and capital flowing to new places and new kinds of founders, it was super exciting. But there was also a tremendous fragmentation tax on it. And the best founders were pitching, 100 angel groups, 400 individual investors. It was like the process hadn't evolved at all. Get a warm intro to everyone you know. Stop running your business. Go ask them for individual checks. And it was so inefficient. And I saw a product opportunity in there. Is there some way to get the fragmentation part out from where it shouldn't be, but leave that individualism around taste and problems to solve and that gut feeling about where the future is going, and leave that really pure, but make it easier for both sides. We're still figuring that out, but we know a lot more about it. We are, moments, days away. I told you when we started from having our first $1 million month on the platform. We're moments or days away from $8 million total move through the platform. We are learning. What we've learned along the way is the trajectory of what people go through from that moment of, I heard I could do this thing, to I am a capital I investor. It's an identity journey. It's a permission journey. It's a time journey. Right? I mean, our core premise was like, well, there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines that want to be here and should be here, but we've made it take so much time. So we solved for the time problem, and then we unpacked the next layers of identity formation and behavioral change. And now we can go to the market and be like, hello, my name is Cheryl. I'm founder of Play Money, and we know how to mint net new private market investors. And when you unleash their capital, look at the kind of stuff that gets funded. And it's lovely to be doing this in a moment when private market capital is all concentrating and playing a Me Too consensus game on a few small companies, because that leaves this giant blue ocean of real technologies and real problems being solved around climate and around women's health, or in things you just love like home goods and CPG, and this whole set of new spaces with great entry valuations, a known pool of buyers, and no big institutional capital paying attention. So guess what? We can fill it with private capital and just make bank.
I love that, Cheryl.
And hope great things happen, right? We can build what we want to buy down the road. I mean, this is the world's biggest, run the table, count the cards. We can do it all, right? We're the consumers on the other end. We've been the investors all along. Let's own a piece of the cap table and own that equity so we get all the upside.
I love that so much.
So that's what we're doing now at Play Money.
It's a powerful entry point, to let consumers and people know that, they too have control over the headlines in the news based on how they choose to invest their time and money. And I always like to tell people, you don't like what's in the news. Well, you got to put your money and time somewhere else so you can invest in new headlines.
Exactly. Exactly. And that investing happens now. And it's okay if it feels like shopping some days. It's okay if it feels like impact with upside some days. We've created an environment where it's always free to lurk and learn until you're ready to jump in. And we do that education in bite-sized pieces. So you don't feel like, oh gosh, I don't have enough time, or I don't know enough, or I'm not, like the funniest thing we hear in Play Money is, well, I haven't signed up yet because I'm waiting till I can block off a bunch of time next week to really figure it out. I'm like, you're going to be disappointed, sweetheart. It takes you 5 minutes. And you're scrolling startups and learning in bite-sized pieces versus interrupting your life. And that's how, as we take over everything, I think that's how more experiences are going to be built, because it needs to fill into this multidisciplinary adventure that we are all on, where we can have multiple interests and our time can be spent on multiple different things. And we can always be multitasking, and that's okay. We need to fit into those nooks and crannies for things to be truly inclusive and get the things we want out of the other end. So
I love that. It's no doubt that, like, especially considering how athletic and strong you are, that this stat will certainly, you'll far surpass this. But with longevity in science, we're all going to be living like forever. And that certainly with your health and wellness, like you've got like another 60 years. So like in many ways, like, you're just getting started. So like, thinking about yeah, like thinking about this body of work that you're creating or that you've created, right? And whether or not you give yourself credit around intentionality, your spirit has really guided your moves and your energy and sort of the impulses to direct things. How would you sort of want to see this body of work of yours? How would you want to reflect on that at the end of the next 60 years?
first of all, thank you. Thank you for seeing through my lack of intentionality to a tremendous amount of purpose and vision behind that. I appreciate that, and to be seen in that way. Here's what it is. I want to take this whole new generation of people that have even a little bit of extra capital, and I want to use what we're building to move billions behind all the problems that aren't getting solved, and market-based solutions so they can be sustainable and wonderful and wealth generating, and just build it up from there. I want to play catch up on where we haven't been deploying capital before to solve the problems we need solved. And I want to move billions, because that's what it takes. And you've talked to me before. My favorite thing, like one of the big aha moments on this journey for me was, if just 20% of us who were accredited investors invested just $10,000 a year, which looks like a couple of long weekends or maybe what we've bullshit spent at Target, we would move $30 billion of capital a year. And that would replicate the entire early stage startup ecosystem from angel through Series A. Like, think about the power. We could just invent a whole parallel universe with that kind of economic power at $10,000 a year. We all have that. If you're accredited, you have that. You've probably spent it somewhere dumb. Like that, it just becomes incredibly. My $1,500 checks feel like they can move the needle when I think about it like that. And that's super powerful for me, at least.
I love that. That's beautiful, Cheryl. We've spoken about money across, different ways, right? Exits, meaningful exits that can move you to the next step in your journey. We've spoken about, investing, 401ks, thinking about retirement, thinking about writing angel checks. We've talked about money in so many different capacities. I'd love to turn our attention to the fun side of money. And I'd love to know, most recently, what has been one of the most fabulous ways that you've spent your money, other than investing in a fabulous startup?
Oh, well, I just had I had a sleeping environment overhaul moment about a week and a half ago. I bought a $240 feather bed from Quince. And now my bed feels like the best bed at the best hotel. Love it. Like, it was just like a fun summer thing. So I used my money for that, which was amazing. And on the experience side, that was really fresh. It like arrived 5 days ago. It's been heavenly. We did a big splurge trip over the holidays and we brought all the kids to Costa Rica. We did a big family trip, a 10-day family trip with the kids, their extras, right? Like, so it's so great when you have adult kids, they bring extra people with them because they get their person. So we had extra, like I went from a mostly boy family to an evenly balanced boy-girl family because we brought the extras with. And it was just, we just had the best time in the world with them, kicking back and having an adventure and just getting to be with them all together. And like that, like, isn't that what money's supposed to do? It's supposed to bring you joy, right? Be able to take care of your people and spend that special time with them. Like, I couldn't be more blessed.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And then my last question, Cheryl, obviously everyone who's listening to the show, we always like to rally around the guests on the show. So why don't you tell us, what are you calling in right now? Where do you need extra love? How can we support you on this mission that you're on? Yep.
So here's the rub. Every single person I've talked to on Play Money, I talk to customers every week, and most of them can tell me exactly who brought them into angel investing and how awesome it was. Very few are comfortable sharing it outward. Like, it's something we don't talk about. So my big ask is like, talk about money. Bring someone with you. Sign up for Play Money and tell a friend and bring them with you. It's free. And you're going to learn something along the way. And maybe you decide to angel invest. Maybe you don't. Maybe you see something you love on there and you're like, oh my gosh, I can be a part of this. You're going to learn something regardless. But I think the bigger message is, yes, I'm always going to say sign up, but tell a friend. Tell a friend about this crazy conversation and start talking about it more. Dudes talk about this crap all the time. I got this scoop. I saw this company. I did this thing. But talk about it in our terms. This is how it made me feel, or this is how they crushed it, or see this, Nguyen coffee supply drink I'm drinking. I'm an investor in it. See this fish wife fish I'm eating, or Daily Crunch. Where's my bag of Daily Crunch? Oh my God, a bag of Daily Crunch on my desk for a while. And I kept saying in a pickle because it was pickle flavored. Tell your friends about that thing you invested in or that founder story that captured your imagination, because you are going to open up to her a world you have discovered for yourself. And she's going to be so grateful.
I love that, Cheryl. What a gift to have you on the show today. Thank you for your spirit, your heart, your generosity. Thanks for answering all of my questions. I so enjoyed getting to spend more time with you. Thank you for being here.
Lovely. Thank you for having me. Mwah!
Thank you for listening. This is the conversation we come back to every single week. Real women, real wealth, and what becomes possible when we stop being silent about money. If today's episode moved you, don't let it stop here. Wealth Catalyst is where women go to take it further. Our Freedom Tour salons are gathering women in 32 cities this year. Intimate evenings in homes and private spaces where women talk honestly about money, risk, and what they're building. And if you're ready to go even bigger, join us at the Wealth Catalyst Summit, a full-day event in New York City this May and San Francisco this October. Find your city and claim your seat at wealthcatalyst.com. We'll see you there.